Welcome to the Popish Plot. I'm Mike.
And I'm Jessica.
It's Final Four 2019, Heaven.
Ooh.
Now, this is particularly appropriate because, well, we've reached the Sweet 16. And at least at this point in this year's tournament, my Michigan Wolverines are still alive.
Okay.
Huzzah.
I do not watch basketball, but I did hear they won something.
I also am not watching basketball this year, and it's quite inconvenient. But yes, I'm aware that they're still alive. My father texts me all the results, whether I want him to or not.
Well, then that's a good workaround, because it's not like, tell me what the results are. It's just, here's what that is.
I'm just trying to be a good son. What am I supposed to do? Ignore his texts?
Mm.
So, thus far in the Final Four 2019, we've discussed death. Again, around here at the Popish Plot, we're big fans of death. And judgment. We're also extremely judgy. But we're viewing the Final Four, the last four things, as the sports analogy.
Mm-hmm.
So, death is the limit that is on the game.
Okay.
Eventually, the game's going to come to an end for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Judgment tells us the criteria by which the game, the winner and loser, will be determined.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you chose life or death. Heaven is what we all want. But, as we discussed last year, and it'll be over Jess's shoulder, there are lots of stupid questions that people ask about heaven. So, last year we discussed mostly what heaven is not.
Okay.
It's not, a country club. It's not just harps and clouds.
Okay.
But what is heaven? According to the Catechism, which today is being used as reference and not just set dressing.
We did look up stuff and
absolutely.
then just, put it down. For
Absolutely. This year I neglected to transcribe the quotes, and that's why I need to read them out of the book. Mm-hmm. According to Article 1024, this perfect life with the Most Holy Trinity, this communion of life and love with the Trinity, with the Virgin Mary, the angels, and all the blessed, is called heaven. Heaven is the ultimate end and fulfillment of the deepest human longings, the state of supreme, definitive happiness. And, continuing in 1025, to live in heaven is to be with Christ. So, where this comes into play for us is that most people think of heaven only as the state where our souls go after bodily death. And they're overlooking two crucial aspects then.
Okay.
One, after the resurrection, and we've discussed this previously, and you only live twice, everybody will be resurrected. The righteous will live with God forever. So, even though we'll be once again embodied creatures, with, as the previously discussed, super awesome resurrection bodies.
Yes.
That can walk through walls and teleport and all sorts of cool stuff.
Uh-huh.
That aren't subject to death and disease and aging and or any of that anymore. It's going to be sweet. I can't wait till I have my sweet, sweet resurrection body.
I know. Although, it's not like we could scare people by going through walls, because everyone could do it. Plus, we probably wouldn't want to, because we all holy and stuff.
But maybe it's like just friendly scaring each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like you walk through a wall, boo! And our friends go, ah!
Maybe you could be like, I'm going to pop into your place tomorrow, and then just poof, pop in.
Exactly. So that will still be heaven. There will be a new heavens and a new earth, and we will have, stuff to do. Not just sitting on clouds. Embodied creatures in heaven. But also, people forget that we can live the life of heaven here on earth.
No, I've tried going through walls because theoretically, most, even the solidest things, is space on the atomic level.
Yeah.
I mean, if we got it lined up just right, it should work.
Oh, yeah.
I bang my nose.
Well, I understand this, and I've read enough Flash comics to know that you're just not vibrating at the right frequency. Then you could pass through the empty space and the molecules.
It seems like it should work.
Listen, I don't disagree with you. Okay, I'm going to recommend that you borrow one of the girls' bicycle helmets before continuing to run these experiments, but don't give up. Be dogged.
I actually have a helmet here for an unrelated purpose.
Well, there you go. That is now your walking through walls helmet.
Okay.
So I've heard Abraham, our father in faith, criticized for taking his nephew Lot with him. Mm-hmm. Lot who we had to rescue from Sodom, and
he was just a bunch of trouble.
I know, seriously. He got kidnapped by some kings, and Abraham had to go after him. But
I'm not all that sure that he counted as a righteous man when they were doing the count. It was just God's like, all right, I'll let your nephew come out.
well, this is the thing. He was supposed to leave his father's house and leave his stuff, but he's like, I'm gonna bring my nephew. Mm-hmm. It's sort of like a son. So just reflecting some doubt in Abraham. Anyway, so I wonder if by suggesting that you put on a helmet, I'm expressing existential doubt that you will ever be able to walk through walls, and you'll then have that doubt and not go through it yourself. Again, that's a whole other episode.
Yeah.
But the definitive state of heaven is to live with Christ, which means, like Father John Riccardo's book, heaven starts now.
So we should start feasting, because I remember reading that it's the marriage banquet of the Lamb.
Well, it's starting.
Super big party.
It's starting now. We're not there yet. We still have to be, thin enough to fit into our wedding garment. Because you don't want to be like the one dude who was at the wedding and didn't have his garment, and Jesus came up to him, "Excuse me, sir, where's your wedding garment?" "Oh, I don't have one." And then he gets tossed outside to the wailing and the screaming and the gnashing of teeth.
I don't know, but in a different Bible verse, they talk about the family providing the wedding garments.
That's true. Well, so we can't realize the fullness of the kingdom here. That will only come after the Lord comes with all of his angels, which ties back to the judgment part. But before you can play basketball successfully, you have to practice.
Yes.
So we need to start practicing for heaven here.
Yes, but we shouldn't practice basketball, because I have it on Good Word from Audio Adrenaline that they'll play football in heaven.
Sure, I can see that.
And he didn't say which football, but I believe they meant American.
Well, football is entirely more pastoral because it's played on grass and things, whereas you need a concrete surface. So, sure, I get that. Basketball's still great, though.
I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying.
It just doesn't exist in heaven. I feel like
underneath the thing, basketball will exist in heaven if you need it to be perfectly happy.
Just like your pet. Just ask the Pope. I feel like there's a George Carlin bit in here somewhere.
Probably.
No, we shouldn't listen to George Carlin bits anyway. But they're really funny. So, how do we start to live the life of heaven here?
Well, apparently it's not play football.
No, because you'll have to play it then, so you should be good at it. Except we'll all be perfected, so... Yeah.
But then there's the issue of we will be perfected in that we won't sin. But we may need to learn skills still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is not the way that, if your quarterback throws a bad pass, you then call him a sinner.
Yeah.
No. He's a dude doing his best.
Yes, that was a accident and not a sinful act.
So, 2 good places to start on learning how to live the life of heaven are the beatitudes. And you find 2 different versions of them in Matthew and in Luke. In Matthew, you get the more famous ones in chapter 5 from verses 3 through 11. All the blesseds. I really like Luke because half of it's blessing, half of it's woe. Whoa. And those are in Luke 6, 20 through 26. Regardless, if you want to start living the life of heaven now, if you want to start getting yourself trained up for it, so that when you die and you face judgment, you'll be fit for heaven, which is to live with Christ forever, live with Christ here and now. This means loving like the Lord loves. It means forgiving people. Even those who root for other sports teams.
We have privately joked about, if we ever have merch, we're going to have a shirt saying, I would hate those people, but God said to love them. We would wear them when we're in Lansing for all the Sparties.
Or anywhere in the state of Ohio.
Just put it on at the border. As soon as you hit the last pothole, flip on your shirt.
I have family in Ohio, so when we drive down, as soon as we enter Ohio, and the roads suddenly become a lot smoother, I sigh heavily. And then, when we're driving back to Michigan, as soon as we cross the border back into Michigan and the roads get rougher, I will literally shout out, woohoo.
I was slightly disappointed that the pothole at the state line on, I think, 75 was filled in temporarily. It was like not going to Michigan for another, mile.
Yeah, seriously.
There's a pothole right on the line.
One fears that with our governor's promise to fix the roads, that we've forgotten who we are. That if there are not potholes large enough to swallow a mid-sized sedan, is it really Michigan? That's another question for another time.
Yeah.
So, you're going to die. You will be judged. And the place you want to go, if you choose life, is heaven. So, start living the life of heaven today. Start totally loving the people you want to hate. Start forgiving the people you don't want to forgive. Start being good to the people who are bad to you. Even the really annoying people who leave trolling comments. Although they've mostly gone away now. But I'm hopeful that we'll get some trolls one day again.
Every once in a while, someone has a really good troll,
True.
It's entertaining.
It's an unexpected blessing. It's an unintentional blessing.
Exactly.
So, by next week, the NCAA tournament will have reached the stage of the Final Four. And we'll be talking about hell. And not Hell, Michigan, which is a different kind of hell, because it's a tourist trap.
It is. Although it is located south of Paradise, Michigan.
We live in a great state. So, until next time, continue to fit yourself for heaven by living like Jesus in the here and the now. Subscribe to our channel. Comment below with just how hellish Ohio is. Ring the bell to be notified when tomorrow's episode is released. And, because vLent is relentless, so you only have to wait 24 hours for the more Popish plot goodness. So, until then, remember to
live your faith.
Love your faith. Share that love.
It's so weird not being the heart.
I'm always the pointing no matter how many of us there are, so it's totally normal to me.